Hi, I'm Stan Soloway, President and CEO of the Professional Services Council, the voice of the government services industry. You know, this is a very chaotic time in Washington with all the debate around deficit and debt and appropriations and budgets. And we're all going to have to do our share to help the government overcome the very real fiscal challenges we all face. Part of overcoming that challenge means strengthening the partnership between the public sector and the private sector, enabling the government to truly access the full scope of innovation, entrepreneurial spirit, technology, and high skills that are resident in the private sector and can be brought to bear on behalf of the government and the taxpayer. It's with that in mind that we at PSC, in consultation with our leadership and polling and surveying our members across the board, have decided on a set of 5 key policy priorities for 2012, all of which we believe will help strengthen that partnership, all of which will help balance appropriate oversight and the government's ability to tap the best the private sector has to offer. The first of our priorities is balanced competition. Here, our goal is very simple. We believe a good competitive marketplace will drive the best performance on behalf of the government. There are a number of areas in which we think improvements can be made to ensure that the marketplace is as appropriately and competitively balanced as possible. This includes things like reforming the cost comparison methodologies that the government uses to determine whether to use an outside or organic federal source for performance of certain work. It means we need to take another hard look at areas such as federally funded research and development centers or USAID's tendency to use grants rather than competitive contracts to ensure that we're using competition whenever and wherever possible and getting the maximum degree of both accountability and transparency in the process. Second, we are very concerned about regulatory reform. Here again, it's a question of balance. Cost-benefit analyses, making sure that the appropriate oversight is in place, but that we don't go so far overboard that the costs far outweigh any benefits to the government in terms of making sure that they are getting what they've paid for and the companies are acting and operating in the most ethical and responsible manner possible. Third, one real key in this market today more than ever is smart procurement. And by that we mean simply strategically thinking about how acquisitions are conducted and not conducting them based on some predetermined set of rules or rigid concepts. We have seen a rapid growth of the use of low-price buying strategies in an environment where that could actually disadvantage not only the government, but also the industry that seeks to support the government. We need to ensure that we are using the right contract types, that we are able to, through appropriate best value and cost technical trade-offs, deliver for the taxpayer and deliver for the agencies. Fourth, preserving and enhancing the services industrial base. This is a combination of ensuring our small business policies and small business size standards are appropriate to the marketplace, that we enable entrepreneurship not only for small companies launching and entering the government market, but also for those that are transitioning from small into the large, often highly competitive and very challenging full and open world. Finally, we're going to focus on the broad area of business risk and liability. There's no question that the risks and liabilities associated with doing business with the government have increased. And our goal is to seek a rebalancing of some of those risks and liabilities. Take suspension and debarment, for example. We've clearly seen an increase in the use of suspension and debarment in ways for which it was not designed. Suspension and debarment is supposed to measure whether a company is presently responsible. We all know things are going to go wrong. The question is, what did you do to try to prevent it? How did you deal with the situation when it happened? And what are you doing to try to prevent it from happening again? That's what suspension and debarment assesses in the big picture. Unfortunately, we're seeing it used too often, and pressure for it to be used too often, as an instant default punitive tool. We need to change that. In the area of cybersecurity and information protection, we're seeking to balance the government's very legitimate concerns with information protection, with industry's very legitimate concerns around standards and limits on liability wherever appropriate. And finally, in business risk and liability is the whole area of employee and personnel relationships. The government has certain roles to play to ensure that companies of all kinds operate fairly and ethically in the employment market. But there have got to be limits to the degree to which the government interferes with company personnel decisions. These are just 5 general areas in which we're operating and focusing our policy advocacy for the year. There's a lot more, and these of course can change as circumstances warrant. But hopefully it gives you a sense of the scope of the challenges we face as an industry and what we at PSC are trying to do to address those challenges. Things do change, and I'd invite you to visit our website often to see what's new, what's going on, and the progress we've made. To read more about our 2012 policy priorities, just click the link below. For now, thanks for stopping by.